Today I'm reviewing the new Kiwi Ears Belle budget single driver IEM from Kiwi Ears. This is now the same price as the Kiwi Ears Cadenza. We're going to find out, is it better? Is it worse? Is it the same? Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews, and here you can see the Kiwi Ears Belle. There's not much available information around the internet as of yet, so I thought I would jump on early and sort of let you know how these are, because I've been listening to these for a couple of days already, so I thought, why not? I know now that the big 11/11 sale is here, I know a lot of people will be wondering about this one. So that's what they look like. Nice tiny shells. So for those people who've been complaining about the size of the Zigat shells and some of the Kiwi Ears shells, you'll be pleased to know that these ones are tiny. They are, compared to the Cadenza, they are about the same. They're actually just slightly smaller. So these are priced at $30 right now. That is on the Linsole website and on the Kiwi Ears website as well. I haven't seen them surface on AliExpress yet, but I imagine they should be there maybe tomorrow. I don't know if $30 is the sale price or the final price. You might be able to find them even cheaper than that. But inside of here, we've got a 10mm diamond-like carbon diaphragm. So I think the original Cadenza also had a DLC. I know it's definitely a single 10mm dynamic as well, but I don't know exactly the properties. I cannot remember. But let's have a quick look at the cable, and I've got to say, this is a nice cable, especially compared to the one that came with the Cadenza, which is a very generic, very tangly one. This is a lovely cable for a $30 IEM. That's pretty mint. Let me talk about how these sound. I'm going to start early with the graph today, so check that out. That is compared with the Harman 2019 in-ear target. So you can see we've got a slight variation here. The Belle has more upper bass and lower mid-range presence, and it has slightly less upper mid-range and lower treble than the Harman Curve. And what that means in a nutshell is that these are super smooth to listen to. So they are on the warmer side, very smooth, no sibilance, no harshness. But let's break it down. First, we'll talk about the bass. So you've got some nice sub-bass extension there. You do get a bit of rumble. These are definitely not a bass head IEM though, but there is a satisfying amount of low-end presence there. These DLC diaphragms are really good for control, so there isn't any sort of noticeable bloat or bleeding into the mid-range. It's a fairly well controlled. There is definitely some underlying warmth, of course, but it stays well under control. It doesn't get in the way of anything. So what I like about the sound here is you do get a bit more upper bass presence than your generic Harman IEM. So for me, that's a bit more engaging. It might not sound as spacious or quite as clear in the mid-range, but it definitely has that sort of rhythmic effect. And in addition, you get nice full-bodied male vocals, nice and rich and powerful. Instruments sound nice and full-bodied as well, so you got a nice note density, note weight there. It's particularly good for, like I said, male vocals, but also string instruments, especially things like violins, cellos, fantastic. Acoustic guitars sound really nice. And then in the treble, yeah, like I said, a little bit relaxed in the treble. To be honest, I would have liked a little bit more energy and zest, if you will, in the upper registers, but having said that, it is a good treble. The timbre is quite accurate. Like for a $30 IEM, this has got a very mature sound signature. And I should have said at the start, it's a very balanced sound signature. So no particular area stands out above the rest. So it's very well balanced between the bass, the mid-range and the treble. But the treble is definitely very smooth here. There's no harshness whatsoever. So if you are treble sensitive, you should love these. In terms of detail retrieval, they're actually pretty good. They're quite good. They're not going to be class leading. They're not going to beat out something like, for example, the KZ ZS10 Pro 2 here in terms of micro details, but instead of that, you're getting a less fatiguing sound, one that you can easily listen to all day. You can really pump up the volume when your jam comes on. So they're just a really enjoyable musical IEM. Let's do a couple of quick comparisons. I'm going to start, of course, with the Kiwi Ears Cadenza. The Cadenza, even until the present day, one of the best looking $30 IEMs out there. I mean, look at it. They're just beautiful. And in fact, I don't want to really say this, but the Belle kind of starts off on the back foot, not looking as good as the Cadenza. Like, which one, based on looks, which one would you prefer? But anyway, let's talk about the comparison between these two. So the Cadenza has a little bit less bass, upper bass presence. It's actually got a little more weight in the sub bass, but less presence in the upper bass and the lower mid range. That's actually quite good. It gives it better separation between the bass and the lower mids. But I do like the way the Belle just has a little more fullness in the lower end core mid-range compared to the Cadenza. Now, in terms of treble, the Cadenza does have that peak after 10 kilohertz. It's like at 11 or 12 kilohertz, something like that. That does give it a little bit of air up top, but just like the Belle, I found that the Cadenza sort of could use a little bit more energy in the treble. But overall, they sound quite similar. I would say if you have the Cadenza and you would just like a little bit more bass presence, a little more fullness in the lows and the mid-range, you want a bit more power in the mid-range, then the Belle would be a good option. And it's worth noting that, yeah, you do get that superior cable with the Belle compared to the Cadenza's cable. All right, let's pull in another one. This is the KZ ZS10 Pro 2, and this is also around that $30 mark. At least it is right now. When I just checked on AliExpress a moment ago, it might be on sale already, quite possibly. But this one's interesting because they really try to give you value for money, starting with the driver configuration. So this one has got one dynamic driver and 4 balanced armatures per side. In addition to that, it's got 4 tuning switches. I believe there was a version also without the switches. I might be wrong. I might be thinking of another KZ model, but yeah, you do get the tuning switches here, and what they do is they allow you to modify the quantity of bass that you're getting. But what I'm describing here in this instance is with all of the bass switches down. So in other words, the leanest form of the KZ ZS10 Pro 2. So the KZ does have a little bit of extra sub bass extension, a bit more rumble down in the ultra low frequencies, but then it has a more scooped out mid bass. But like I said, if you pop those switches up, that changes things quite drastically. These can become actually a bit of a bass monster with all the switches up. So it's very versatile IEM, but in this configuration at least, yeah, it's got less fullness in the lower mid range and the upper bass. In addition to that, it's got a little more energy in the upper mids and in the upper treble. So overall, it's slightly more V-shaped than the Belle here. It is perhaps more dynamic. It is a more exciting but slightly raw sound. Whereas the Belle is, like I said, very refined and quite mature. The ZS10 Pro 2 is just a little bit more unleashed. So again, these are both great IEMs. If I had to choose out of these, that would be a real tough one. I guess I would probably go with, I don't know, I really enjoyed the Belle today, and I always enjoy the ZS10 line from KZ. So I guess since I have both of them, I would probably rotate between the two depending on my mood. In reality though, get any one of these 3 IEMs and you're getting extremely good bang for your buck. Just all fantastic budget IEMs. Anyway, that is the Kiwi Ears Belle $30 IEM, and I just wanted to get this review out there so you've got that option for your 11/11 shopping. But having said that, it's time to wrap it up. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, Path Family Audiophile style. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, I'll see you later.